Okay, students. So we will start with the today's lecture. The outline for today's lecture is recursive decomposition. An example of the recursive decomposition we will see quicksort and restructuring of computation for parallelism. Uh, one example to find the minimum in an array. It's a task dependency graph and the recursive program. The focus is on recursive decomposition. So on the top of previous lecture, the preliminaries we had learned. So today we will start with the very first decomposition technique. Uh, decomposition technique. So four decomposition techniques are there. Data decomposition, recursive decomposition, exploratory decomposition and speculative decomposition, out of which let us focus on the first today with some simple examples like quick sort and uh, second point in the outline is restructuring of computation to suit the parallelism. So what is decomposition first? We had seen the definition. So what is decomposition? I hope you know. So decomposing a complex computation into simple tasks or sub computations, which we call it as a task. So decomposition, task dependency graph, and number of things we had seen in the last lecture. So you will need that those concepts. So this is the outline. If time permits, again we will go for the next decomposition a bit, though it is not mentioned in the outline. So let me see how much the time, how I can manage the time. So a bit from its decomposition, that is data decomposition also we will see, though it is not in the outline. So students, so we will start. And one thing to share or to tell you that try to join the lectures in time, uh, especially 2 o'clock and the first lectures, because this is the first lecture in the second half. So there is no dependency of the previous lecture, is it? So try to, as far as possible, unless and until any genuine connectivity problem and all, you should join a prior, because I joined the meeting 5 minutes before. Even I can have problems can be there, but just don't make it a rule, because the lecture time is 2 o'clock. So it should not be 2 5. So 1 week is okay, just to get you yourself comfortable with online teaching learning. Now you should manage joining the lecture in time. Okay, so keep it in mind. No need to monitor me that. So now you are in BE. So you should be honest with yourself. Just join the lecture 5 minutes before. If you are finding it difficult to join the meeting dot at 2 o'clock. So don't make it a rule. Otherwise, lectures time will start from 2 5. Obviously some problems issues can be there, but it should not be every day, happen every day. Okay, so the students, let us start. So the first decomposition technique we will see today out of four, that is recursive decomposition. So all of you know the quick sort. So quick sort, it is based on divide and conquer strategy. You know, so inherently it is recursive in nature, is it not? So a sample example, it is in front of you. So quicksort task dependency graph based on recursive decomposition for sorting a sequence of 12 numbers. So this is by default candidate for recursive decomposition. So just see this array at the root level. So array of some elements, it is to be sorted, and just you apply your divide and conquer strategy, and this field cell, it is the pivot at that particular partition. So selection of pivot, and that you all know. So the focus is on dividing the computation. So main array, it is divided into two sub arrays. Again we go on dividing till we get a single element in each partition. So this is your quick sort. So how I will go for parallelism. So this I am calling it as a task dependency graph. Now you know, so just see level wise, root level, next level two tasks, root level one task. The work given to task is obviously divide, go on dividing into the sub partitions, and then next level two tasks are running parallel. Next more, go to the next level. Like this you just go on dividing and see the how many tasks you need, and this is called as recursive decomposition. So in parallel you can, level wise you can go for concurrency, is it? So obviously root level no concurrency, so the root process or the root task job is to divide the whole array into two. So at this level two tasks concurrently you can do parallelism, two tasks like this, level wise parallelism. And so this is the recursive decomposition. So divide based on divide and conquer strategy. So quick sort, merge sort, natural candidates of this recursive decomposition. So this is how we are breaking the complex computation into small sub computation, and we are incorporating parallelism, is it not? So merge, sort, and bubble sort, I think. Yeah, merge and bubble are there in your LP1 laboratory. So there you will need this theory. So merge sort, straight away it uses the recursive decomposition. And bubble sort we will see. So I hope it is clear. So the natural divide and conquer strategy, the algorithms which use generally divide and conquer strategy, they go for recursive decomposition. Due to recursion, it's very easy to extract or induce the parallelism and go for concurrency. That's it. So next, as per the outline, what I suggest is, yeah, the next program, suppose quick sort is over. Suppose the situation is, or the scenario is, I want to find the minimum in an array, minimum in an array of uh, numbers. A is the array and length is n. So something is in front of you. You must be familiar. I hope you are familiar with this. The problem is to find the minimum in an array of n numbers. Simple. From first year or second year you know this. So a serial program for that is in front of you. So how you proceed? Just you take out the first element in mean and apply a big for loop, and just go on checking, comparing the two uh, elements of that array with that mean, and just you restore your mean. Is it simple logic? So just see. Uh, Now this is your serial algorithm, so nothing to do with divide and conquer strategy. It's just normal algorithm, your iterative. So now if I want to uh, perform this computation to find a minimum in an array parallelly. So sometimes as per this situation, like this situation, there is a need to restructure the serial computation to to suit the parallel needs. So how? So sometimes the serial, your normal business logic of the algorithm, it is to be restructured like this, so that we can go for parallelism. First, let me show you this. Or yeah, this is also there. So how? So just see the task dependency graph for finding the minimum number in the sequence. Sequence is given. So this is the task dependency graph. Here, instead of so here what in a pair of two, just start from leaf. In a pair of two, I go on finding the minimum and just go on collecting the minimum in the next level, and at the root level, I am getting the minimum. So here I have restructured the serial computation so to induce the parallelism. So first let me show you that algorithm. So the previous serial algorithm. Now we have restructured to suit the parallelism. So recursion, or to suit the divide and conquer strategy, we have induced forcefully the recursion. So it is a recursive program for finding the minimum in an array of numbers. Same program, but using recursion. So forcefully, we have changed the serial logic, and we did the with recursion. So just go through this procedure. It's very easy. Again, mean is equal to a of 0 if n is equal to 1, and then here in two partitions we are dividing, and it calls itself. It goes in the recursion, and then finally we are getting the min from the whole array. So a bit like quick sort, or like a divide and conquer strategy. It is restructured. Uh, I hope it is clear. Yes, and now see the task dependency graph of that. So just go follow the bottom up approach to get, and the minimum element from the array you are getting at the root. So your quick sort, it is following top down approach. Anyhow, as per your design, it is as per your design, and you should be able to justify the parallelism. How I have introduced the parallelism. That's it. So just go through it, and then we will go for the next. One more guideline I would like to give here related to LP1 lab assignments, HPC part. Both the assignments are in there in your assignment list. So first, merge sort, quick sort. So instead of quick sort, merge sort is there, but it follows the your recursive decomposition only. So that you will have to do implement using OpenMP. That is the 8.3 assignment. So that theory you will need this theory, recursive decomposition. You will need, as I said, and this algorithm or minimum, to find the minimum in an array is also there in your first assignment. Using CUDA you will have to do. Let it be any technology, but the assignment is there. What I recommend, or actually it is mandatory, you should refer to your textbook, the decomposition for that particular problem statement. You should refer to your textbook only. So it is assumed. So that's why HPC LP1, it is a companion course for the main course of HPC, is it? So there, using CUDA, you are finding the minimum, maximum, sum of elements. So how parallelly you are going, level-wise parallelism, and that. So you learn the CUDA technology, and but your task dependency graph, or how you are breaking the main computation, or how you are incorporating the parallelism, is it should have certain base. It should not be by your own. So how to find the minimum? So this is the case. So maximum is also same. Sum also you can do using the same. So suppose this array. So I think, yeah, sum, minimum, maximum, sum, and standard deviation. It is like this. The problem statement is of the first assignment using CUDA. So for timing, keep aside the technology. But the thing is that you should stick to this logic. Don't develop your own logic, because this has having certain base, because the reputed, the book is written by the reputed authors, and certain strategies or certain protocols they are following. That's why. And it is why I'm telling, though you must be thinking, ma'am, what ma'am is telling from time to time, but it is important because at the time of practical examination also it is assessed. What you are showing or what you are demonstrating, it should have certain base uh, for every parallel assignment. So you are going for parallel is okay, but on the top of which? So which strategy, which protocol, which decomposition, which technique, which mapping technique, which models, parallel models you are following is very, very important. So a bit I have cleared about assignments also. So same logic you can find, apply for maximum also there, and sum also, and standard deviation also. Sum. So sum, suppose this array you want to make it a sum. So just in a pair, you just go on adding and just go to the next level, and at the root you will get the sum of all elements. Otherwise, the serial computation for sum is just apply a big for loop, and just you do sum is equal to sum plus a of I. You learn from your first year. So now all this as per the outline, what is the aim is sometimes or in some scenarios you will have to restructure the normal serial computation. That is the aim. So first part we have completed. In recursive decomposition, some algorithms they are naturally following, or they are naturally with the divide and conquer strategy. So straight away you can apply recursive decomposition for such algorithms. For example, quick sort and merge sort. And in some algorithms, or if you want to induce parallelism in some algorithms, in some computations, like to find the minimum, maximum, or a sum, you can say. So forcefully you will have to restructure that computation to force or to suit it as per the divide and conquer strategy. That is my aim to tell you. So some simple examples I have given, and the the same examples they are there for implementation also in your LP1 laboratory. So this is the reference from your textbook. So that is the end of first recursive decomposition. Any doubts, please ask. Otherwise, we will go for next. Bubble sort also, it is not naturally recursive, so that you will have to think. So how to partition that bubble sort and all. So I'll implement it. Yes, and one more thing I will add, and then end this slide. Uh, yeah, so like minimum, maximum, we have restructured, but we want to go it for parallel, and then we are restructuring. But the rule is that, or the thing is that you should restructure to suit that particular strategy. Let us say here divide and conquer. If and only if you can means do that in some logical steps. So forcefully, though I use the word forcefully, but it should suit, or and it should have the certain logic also to suit that particular strategy. So just for the sake of doing parallel, or just sake of converting it forcefully into divide and conquer, you should not do that. It should suit that, or it should have that logic also. Like here, in to calculate minimum, straight away we can go in pairing from the leaf to root. Just in a pair we can find minimum. So this is a standard, means this is quite logical. So just for sake of doing, just don't we are not allowed to restructure. It should restructure also with logically, and obviously with optimum results, is it? That's why So I will end this and we will go for the next, that is data decomposition. I hope it is clear. Uh, yeah, so nothing is there in the chat box. So I hope it is clear, students. Good. So let me go for the next. I will close this. So two examples we had seen. One is natural inherent recursion, and second restructure. We have restructured to suit divide and conquer. Only in the case we can do it logically. That's the thing. Let me close it. Next. Um, yeah, I will close this and open the new. Like next data decomposition, I am open data decomposition. Desktop is shared only. I hope it is seen. Okay. Yeah, just in abstract level, I have divided my contents as per the lecture. So that's why the outline is there. So just, yeah, you should know also what is the scope of data decomposition. As the time permits, we will continue with the as per the outline, and rest we will resume tomorrow. So what this is the scope of data decomposition. Um so data decomposition with simple examples I will explain. So data partitioning, it involves first data partitioning and then data decomposition. So how data partitioning with respect to output data, intermediate data, input data, and combination of both input and output data. This is the scope of data decomposition. Um, so we will start. That this chart will make you more convinced what is it and all. Yeah. So data decomposition, second type or category after recursive. I hope this is visible. The font size already I have kept larger only, and still and I am zooming also. So I hope it is visible. Uh, so data decomposition, two parts. First, you will have to uh, partition the data. So these two steps are included in data decomposition. First is data partitioning, and then next is partitioning of computations into tasks. So the first is again four categories. How the data is partitioned. How the data is partitioned. Again simple examples. So focus on this table or chart. So data partitioning is based on output data purely, intermediate data, input data, and input plus output data. So four types are there. So again, go ahead. Uh, First, we will see scope and then we will see one by one. So what is output data partitioning? So this is used when output is a natural function of input. How I will show you with example. So here example also I have written matrix multiplication. Simple matrix multiplication. The constraint or the situation is output is a natural function of input, rather there is a natural relationship between output and input. So this partitioning with respect to output data, it is used. Next partitioning is partitioning based on intermediate data. So here intermediate storage is required, we are going to see. Again same example, or rather same example, I will orient with respect to these two partitioning schemes. So you will be more convinced. Third, partitioning is how to partition the data is with respect to input data. Here input data is partitioned with other rather than output data. So why? Because here in this case, when is the situation is like this, to partition input data is when the output is not a natural function of input. There is no obvious or no relation you can find, obvious relation between output and input. So examples I have written here: minimum, maximum, sum, sorting. So a number of such examples are there. So we are going to see in detail. Next is when you will learn in exclusive output, exclusive input, you should be in a position to blend. So this input plus output is nothing great. So already you will learn here input, output in its own. So in some situation or in some problems, there is a need to combine both input data partitioning and output data partitioning. Means what? You will have to solve that problem by partitioning some data or partitioning some input data and partitioning some output data also. So blend of input and output data partitioning. So some example here I am giving it to you as a homework. Why homework? Because till this category you must be confident, you will be confident about all these, and just example 3.6 you can solve as a homework. Why? Because there is nothing new to teach already, which the concepts which already I taught, you are just now here, you will just here apply in this example. So it should be a two-way from your side also. So I will see, I have come to know whether you can apply. And as far as possible, yeah, from next or just give me some time, I will frame the assignments, and then you can upload assignments, means not rather frame the homework in the form of assignments from Teams, because that is the option I find convenient, and you can upload your PDFs by solved PDFs. So that way we can close the loop. Is it? So though it is a theory class, so home assignments, like, so let me assign those assignments to the class team, because address, notebook and all that is also okay, but I will have to see that how to class notebook also is there. So let us see, just give me some 2-3 days and I will give you the homework also. But just all my these efforts, it should be fruitful provided you will upload. Is it? These are the solved examples from the book. Again, you will have to solve it by going through it, or just by applying your knowledge or what you have learned. So that is equally important. So I hope you will cooperate. Let it be. We will see that. Next, yeah. So we will start with the very first. That is output data, partitioning on output data. So here you will need your preliminaries, which we have seen in first lecture of the unit 2. So something is in front of you: partitioning output data. So matrix multiplication. So part A is partitioning of input and output matrices into 2 by 2 sub matrices. Simple. A matrix, 2 by 2 matrix B. So when I multiply it, I get the C matrix. And next is a decomposition of matrix multiplication into 4 tasks based on partitioning of the matrices. Here 4 tasks. So how to get element C11 like this, C212 is like this. Just normal computations. Serial row wise, first row, first column, first row, second column, second row, first column, like this, second row and second column. So normal. So normal serial computation broken into 4 subtasks. Is it? So 4 tasks. So the work given to each task is to calculate the individual output element. 4 output elements per task, 1 element. So work given to task T1 is to calculate C11. How it is written here? Work given to task T2 is to calculate C12. It is given how it is given here. So breaking into sub computation, breaking the main computation into sub computation. Obviously, the business logic of matrix multiplication will not change. And why I am calling it as output partitioning? There is a natural relationship between output and input. So how you are getting output? So this is the relation, natural relationship. What is relation? What is that relationship? To get this output, what is the product? Product of these two, then sum operation. So product of these two. So two products you are adding. So that is the natural, what you can say, relation between output and input. So there is nothing, nothing complex. So we can partition the output data like this, partitioning the output data. So tasks we have, just don't get confused, the tasks we have made or prepared depending on the output data. So the work I am giving is to calculate the output, is it not? That's why it is called as partitioning based on output. Don't get confused. So this is the one way to break the complex computation into simple sub computation. There can be in a number of ways. So like this, some decompositions are in front of you. So just go through it, and again I have solved some simple problem also to convince you more. So this also can be done. So instead of breaking the computation into 4 tasks as per the previous case, this is one sequence. So the computation I am breaking into 8 tasks like this, again like this. So not necessary, mandatory to go for 4 tasks only. It is as per your design. Just please go through it. So why, what is done here? Only one, I'm calling it as C11. Only A11 first product, calculation of first product, that work given to the first task. I am using the result of task 1 in the task 2 plus the second product. Like this it repeats. So another way. So just I will wait for 2 minutes. Go through it. Again, I will show you the previous. As simple as that. Partitioning, data partitioning or task assignment is with respect to output. That's why output, partitioning the data on output elements. Like, is it okay? Yeah, go to the example, and some graphs also I will show you, and some conclusions also. First, case 1. Simple example I have solved for you. Decomposition of matrix multiplication into 4 tasks. So 2 by 2 matrices I have taken A, B, and product I want like this. AC is equal to A into B. Within the matrix itself, I have shown the tasks. So the red tasks I have marked with red ink. So T1, T2, T3, T4, and the results produced by that particular task also are in red. Is it simple? So 4 tasks and the relationship between output and input is shown here. So let us go ahead. This is a familiar term now. to you what is task dependency graph. So T1, T2, T3, T4, only 4 tasks. There is no dependency. So four tasks parallelly I can run, execute concurrently. So this is only this much is my task dependency graph. No dependency among the tasks because the whole thing, how I got this 19, the whole computation, the product, sum of two products, I am giving that work to T1. So I am not importing anything from any task. That's the thing. So this is how the task dependency graph for this it is shown, is it? So this is as per our case 1. I hope it is clear. Next, so though it looks very simple, you should be in a position to write into the steps. That's why purposely I have solved the problem. It is not given in book, so I have solved. So this is the style in which the way in which if you will explain the decomposition technique in examination also, and the stepwise you should know. Orally is very easy, but how to put it into words, some students may find it difficult. So this is the actually ideal way to write. So writing skills also you should know. So case 2, same input, decomposition of matrix multiplication into 8 tasks for the same input. So I have solved. So the green, the tasks I have shown, the dependent tasks I have shown in the green color T1. Let us say 1 into 5. So this result of T1 I am using in the next task, is it T2? I am calling it as use the result of T1. That's why I have shown it in green color. Plus, I am giving some additional work, this product also I am giving to this task T2, and then I am with my element, first element of my matrix, 19. Okay. Uh, so T2 will give me the first element of my matrix, result matrix 19. So this is another way or per combination. So same thing it is repeated for all. So green tasks are the dependent, or they are used. The results of green tasks are used in the next level. That's the aim to show you. Similarly, you can go for case 3. Like, is it? Shall I show you the input? Yeah, so what is done? 1 into 5, 5, 1 into 5. First it is calculated. This responsibility, this work given to one task, and this work it is used in the next task, and some more additional work to add something more it is given to that T2. So it is repeated for all, or it will scale for all here like this. I hope it is clear, students. Let me show you the dependency graph now. Just task dependency graph for the case 1. Here T1, T3, T5, T7, which I had shown in green here. So the results of this task will be utilized by this libs nodes. And T2, T4, T6, T8 are going to give you the final results, is it? So this is data decomposition. Data decomposition or partitioning. Partitioning. The focus is on partitioning. The decomposition is nothing great. Decomposition means work assign. Just assign that work to that particular task. So partitioning is different. So here 8 tasks I am using. I think it is clear. So conclusion, how you can conclude. So it's very important. Maximum degree of concurrency is 4 in both the above mentioned cases. Even though case 1 has 4 tasks and we have increased the tasks from 4 to 8. That this is the conclusion. Or maximum degree of concurrency. Let us not get confused with your average. So where you students, where you find the maximum degree of concurrency at the leaves. So just again go through this conclusion or just a comment. Two cases we had seen. So this can happen. Maximum degree of concurrency, it remains same. It remain here in this case, it remained the same. That is 4 in both the cases, even though we had increased the number of tasks or increased the granularity. Hmm. From 4 to 8 we had gone. So what is our aim? To achieve concurrency. So we just tried the design. Just let us try the same example with 4 tasks. Let us try the same example or design the same example, okay, with the 8 tasks. But still we are with the same maximum degree of concurrency here. So at least you are getting maximum degree of concurrency. At the max, I can run only 4 tasks in parallel because there is a dependency, is it not? Unless and until you get the results from previous, you cannot proceed with the next level. So at the max 4 tasks I can run parallel, though I increase the task number from 4 to 8 as from the case 1 to case 2, is it? Here also I am getting maximum degree of concurrency 4, and in the case 1 also I am getting the maximum degree of here concurrency 4 only. So I hope it is clear. Let me complete one more and then I will take the attendance. Any doubts, please ask. So this is the way to solve by in steps. Yeah, intermediate data we can complete in 10 minutes. No problem, because you are even with that example only. Let it be. So next scheme, partitioning scheme. First is over. Let me, yeah, everything is smooth, I think. No problems. Good. Yeah, let us continue with the same example. The next scheme, partitioning with respect to intermediate data. Partitioning with respect to intermediate data. So same example. Objective is same. A star B I want. So I have decomposed here the same matrix multiplication into 12 tasks now. Two cases we had seen, 4 ka and 8. So now tasks I have increased 12. So what is in green? Again, here I have some partial products. So 8 products, partial products stored in green. So what is the speciality of this? How it is different from output? What are we with? Intermediate. But we are partitioning intermediate data. So how it is different from previous case or the output data partitioning is here. I have increased. It's okay. I have increased up to 12. That in that previous case also you can go for next or 12 tasks. But here what I have shown in green, the results of this task I am stored. I am storing. Sorry, I have stored. So that's why it is called as intermediate partitioning. So intermediate storage. I will require, that is only the difference, otherwise it's the same. So these results I am storing in using intermediate storage somewhere, and then I am using those results in the next tasks. So 4 more tasks I will need, and here I am with my output. That is only the difference. So where in previous case there is no storage, so implicitly they are calculated using those particular tasks, is it? So there is no storage concept as such, only that is the difference. This also the same problem you can solve using the 12 tasks, also using your output data partitioning. I hope you are getting. Don't get confused. Only here the intermediate storage is introduced. So one more case I thought I should uh, show you instead of repeating the same cases. So 12 tasks, I have increased the tasks, number of tasks also 12, and here is the task dependency graph. Same task dependency graph you will get. So here just see of 8 tasks, So maximum degree of concurrency I have increased uh, by decomposing in the tasks into 12 tasks. So here 8 tasks. Leaf nodes, at leaf nodes I am with 8 tasks, so concurrent 8 tasks. Maximum degree of concurrency I have increased, but at the cost of storage also, you can say. Here I will have to store those results. So like this. So in case of partitioning, so again some conclusions. I hope it is clear. So these results I am storing somewhere and then using. So in case of partitioning on output data, all elements are computed implicitly in the original decomposition, but they are not explicitly stored. That is the thing, only difference. By restructuring the original algorithm and by explicitly storing the elements, we have been able to devise a decomposition with higher concurrency. Elements shown in green color are explicitly stored. This, however, has been achieved at the cost of extra aggregate memory usage. That is the overhead you will have to face. I hope it is clear. Anything you want to ask? You can ask. Meanwhile, I will download the attendance and then we will continue with input data also. So the whole data decomposition is over today. Still time is there. Please ask the queries. Bit 5 minutes early I started the meeting, that's why I am taking care to download the attendance, nothing other than that. Otherwise once the attendance was blank. Yeah, today is 20th. Sorry, today is 21st. Sorry, 21st. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, students. We are with our attendance. Yeah. Nothing is there in chat box. So I hope it is clear now. Good. Uh, Let us go ahead. Mm, Just let me show you the chart again. Yeah. So today we completed first we completed recursive. Is it recursive? Second decomposition. Second we are with data decomposition. Data decomposition. So data partitioning is rather the core thing of within the data decomposition. Output data partitioning with respect to output data we had seen, and intermediate data also we had seen, and the pros and cons of both. And the same example I have given, matrix multiplication, but reoriented according to the need with respect to output, with respect to intermediate, is it? So now let me complete input also, input data partitioning also, and then you can go for homework. So that will concrete now today's session. Two concrete decomposition techniques you had learned. Is it okay? So directly you can solve this problem, interesting problem, and the all the problems are interesting. So definitely you will find you will feel like solving. So when I say solve, solve it. So let me complete the last also. So then you are with something concrete today, is it, students? Yeah. Last top, last partition. Yeah. So partitioning. partitioning based on input data, or in partitioning the input data instead of output data. So where it is used. So the situation is like this. There is nothing you can say about input and output like in the previous case. So matrix multiplication. In case of matrix multiplication, so simply you can calculate. You could have you could calculate there the output element by just product and summing of the input, your rows and columns of matrices, input matrices. So let us take example. Suppose addition of 10 elements. So what is input? Number of elements 10. This array is the input. And now what is the output of this simple computation? My objective is to add all these 10 elements. So input is your array. 10 element array is the input, and just if you add 55 or some will you are getting. So output is only one number. Output is only one number. It is the addition of all input numbers 10. Let us say 100. Let us say 1000. So here in such a situation, you cannot say anything about, or you cannot find any relation between output and input, especially to go for parallelism. So in this case, better to partition, or it is the time to partition the input data and get your things done. So how? So the whole input data is with you. Just so assume assume that you are having 5 tasks. So I am partitioning the input data like this. So task 1, I am giving the work to calculate 1 plus 2. Task 2, 3 plus next 2 elements. Like this, I am giving the work to all the tasks. So here I am partitioning my input data. Data is 1, 2, 3, 4, so and so up to 10. So in a pair of 2. First 2 elements, partitions in a pair of 2, or 2 pair partitions. Partition containing elements, 2 elements, like I am partitioning. You can increase it also depending on your data set, no problem. It's one sample design to convince you. The focus is on input data partitioning, not output, because output is what, only one number you are getting, is it? So this work I am giving to each task. But is it the parallelism, or are you getting the results? Just see. Our objective is to add the 10 elements. So input data partitioning I am using. Okay, no problem. Task T1 assigned 2 numbers, given the work to that particular task to add. It has added. Produce the results 3. Next 2 numbers I have given to task T2. I have assigned the work. Just I told that task to add. It has added with the results. But now you are with distributed tasks too. Or again what is happening? Partial results. You are with partial results. T1 is having 3, T2 is having 7. It is not serving your purpose. The results are yet to come, is it not? So what to do in such a cases? Straight away, even though straight away you are not getting the results through parallelism. So after this, obviously, no doubt, all these T1 to T5 tasks will run in parallel, and they are with their partial results. So after that, a follow-up computation, you can say. One more step you will need to combine the results from all the tasks. That is the overhead, or that is the thing when you partition your data, or when you will partition your input data, which was not the case in the previous 2 cases, is it not? When you were partitioning your output data, directly you are getting your output elements. That's why, see the scenario, see the situation in the problem statement, think, and just design your application. Think, apply your vision, which computation I should, or which partitioning I should go for, and then you design and then you implement, is it? It is as per your design. That is my aim to tell you. Again, I will repeat. When you are partitioning with respect to input, or when you are partitioning input elements, input data elements, so all you are with your partial results, like in this case, but a follow-up computation, or one more step you will need here to collect the partial results and add. Again, that step also you can again parallelize. So that is the overhead, or that is the thing you will have to bear if you want to go for parallelism in such a cases or such a problems. So this is addition of 10 elements. Minimum, maximum also you can go for, but a lot of again it will go for recursive. So the first case we had seen. So the same number, same array is like you are with the same array, and if you want to find minimum, and forcefully I say that yeah, use input decomposition or input partitioning. So again you will follow the same, is it? That is the only way, because what is the output of that problem statement? Minimum. Only one number you are getting minimum, is it? But the input is a vast. So there is again natural, there is no natural relationship between output and input. And if I say you to use input partitioning, don't use recursive. So again, naturally you will just go do like this. So instead of here adding, just you will give the work of finding the minimum. Again, follow up computation, and your follow up steps will increase. So again, eventually it will go for recursive only. So that's why. So here, it's there is not a concrete rule. So like if this is the scenario, go for this. So these are the strategies, these are the protocols available, and so now right, you can take it as a guidelines, and as per the problem statement, as per your application, now it's your job to apply or blend any two or three, like so decomposition also we are going to see. First, let me cover all the cases or all the decompositions, and you can combine also. It is also allowed. That's why. So use these decomposition techniques as the guidelines and design your application. That is the thing. Yeah. So final step. So this is what I am calling it as a follow-up step or follow-up computation. So simple, add results from individual tasks to get the final addition. So here I have added the partial results to get this. So this completes the second category also very good. So the data decomposition also we had seen today. So after leaving this meeting, I will upload this PPT also. So obviously the reference I am taking from your textbook only. So if you are finding it difficult for just start reading the textbook, you can first go through my slides, and then you can elaborate the pointers through your textbook. But without fail, students, you solve this problem. So I hope you are getting the things, because no queries. So we have completed this also today. Second category, that is data decomposition, and three partitioning schemes we had seen. So now you can blend input plus output. Frequencies of items set transaction database, it is given, and it is also given. So if solution is also given. So if you have understood, students, these previous cases, so I recommend you just you don't see the solution of the author. First only read the problem statement and come up with your own solution, and then you can tally. Anyhow, you proceed. So that is the end of today's session lecture. Any doubts, please ask. Otherwise, I will close. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I will stop the recording. Yes, and the recorded lectures are available in streams. You must be knowing. If you have missed or any problem, you can just go through that lecture, recorded lecture, and attend the next lecture. That is the thing to tell you. Okay, students.